Hello, today I will be doing all 12 Boshi and their abilities explained, and some of their backstories. It's a bit of a mess, really. If you're wondering why I'm calling them 12 Boshi and not something like the Strazuki, I've realized that 12 moons means 12 Kizuki, and I realized that these guys could have a different name because if you've watched the original video, then you know why they would have a different name. So yeah, Boshi means hats, and 12 hats isn't really that intimidating, but neither should 12 moons, and we've all seen Gyutaro. Alright, let's get started. First up, lower Boshi E6, Vivi, Nefertari, and Karu. When the demons were, all of the demons that were once Hashira were, once Hashira, and they saved Vivi's nation from her territory. I don't know how feudal Japan works. They saved her territory from a powerful demon. She could have gone with them, but her people needed her. She was approached to them for a second time when they were demons, and she didn't have the heart to turn them down because she still saw that they were in a way human. She and her duck Karu are linked. In order to decapitate them, you must behead them both. Her blood demon art is demon arc peacock slashers, which can be modified however she wishes. She produces the peacock feathers she was using in the show from her body and slashes them around like Daki's belt sashes. Karu's is a bit more unique and different. Long story short, there's this fanfic of One Piece called 9 Minutes, and if you read that, you'll know all of it. You'll know why I chose this ability for him. His ability, even though he's small, he's quite fast, and he sets himself in a green fire that can burn even demons. She currently still resides in her territory, though now she doesn't go out during the day, and governs it in hopes to find the blue spider lily. Alright, up next, Lower Boshi 5, Usopp. I should probably tell you that this is the era where the Straw Hashira lost to Muzan and were turned into demons. The Hashira that they are currently fighting against are the Shibukai, only in this dimension they're Hashira now. It should be noted that all of these moons that were once Hashira still have their Hashira training, so they're terrifying. They're probably gonna win. Let's be honest, these guys are gonna win. It's their thing. Yeah. His blood demon. The nose you see on him is actually as hard as Nichiren's sword, so he actually claims he once bested a Hashira in battle using only his nose, and knowing him, it might be true. His blood demon art specifically is Blood Demon Art Blood Insect Swarm. Or Blood Insect Forest Swarm. It's Blood Insect Forest Swarm, sorry, I usually mix up my words there. Inside his body is a jungle. That's the closest thing to it, that produces all sorts of plants and insects. The beetle you see on his chest can take portions of this forest and insects and load it into a pellet, which he then fires using his slingshot. Once on contact, it'll explode, creating a small area of insects and carnivorous insects and plants. It's not very big, but given his aim and their deadliness, an on-contact shot usually means, at the very least, the loss of a limb. So, that's fun. The insects on his ears can also be used for close hand-to-hand combat, though he rarely uses them. Yeah. Even though he's a demon now and therefore cannot die unless beheaded, he's still quite scared of the upper ranks. Though it's said that he could increase and by upper ranks I mean those of a higher rank than him. Though it's often said that he could increase his rank if he wasn't too scared to fight. And the same goes for this one. Lower Boshi for Nami. Again, Hashira turned into a demon. Though obviously it affected her staff along with it. Usopp's slingshot can also be doubled as a nitrine blade. Which is, again, another reason why he doesn't challenge anyone. Even though he's a demon, he's still scared of getting his head cut off. Yes. Anyway, Nami's pole, her climb, can still double as a nitrine sword. However, her main use is blood demon art destruction, weather destruction. By pumping her blood into it, it evaporates and creates a blood red cloud that can rain down attacks wherever he sees fit. Again, she doesn't increase her rank because she's still scared of getting her head cut off, even though the 12 Kizuki here are much closer than they are in the original. Well, the 12 Boshi here are much closer than the Kizuki. The Boshi are closer together than the Kizuki, but it's always been a fear of death. I'm sorry. You can hear that, right? It's annoying. Just skip like 10 seconds ahead. Alright, now that that's done... Oh, I should probably tell you this before I forget it. The main reason... Usopp regularly looks for plants to add to his forest because he's hoping by combining different types of plants he'll be able to create the blue spider lily. So, that's fun. Most of these guys are trying their own way to find the blue spider lily, so that's fun. Speaking of which is Nami's way of finding the blue spider lily. Even though she's a demon, she still has connections in the underworld of Japan. And she uses it to get information. And whenever she feels she's being stiffed or just doesn't want to pay in general, or she will regularly just kill whoever she's dealing with. And because of that, she regularly gets what she wants. And this also brings me to a very fun topic. You see these marks on her eyes? You see these marks under her eyes? Those aren't just any regular marks. Those are the Demon Slayer marks. Some of the Hashira had Demon Slayer marks on them because they were turned mid-battle. Because of this, the Demon Slayer mark is now permanently part of her skin. So, that's fun. And now, Lower Moon 3. Lower Boshi 3. Tony, Chopper. Yeah. Again, he doesn't have a Demon Slayer mark currently on him, but it's a funner thing. That helmet or reindeer head he usually wears is now a part of his head, so he's got the mouth and everything. Yeah. His blood demon art is blood demon surgical manipulation. By infusing his power into those golden orbs into those orbs on his blade and on his body, he can morph his body. He can enhance certain parts of his body. His arms, his legs, his horns. He even has this fancy sword point in which his entire body becomes just one big blade by fusing his swords into his body. It's very terrifying. But most terrifying of all is and he refers to these surgical forms as points, to be more specific. But his most terrifying point of all is his abomination point, in which all of his aspects are enhanced. It's essentially just a it's essentially just a larger version of all of his points mixed together. Yeah, yeah. He can't very much hold it for long, so he only uses it when he absolutely needs to. So that's fun. Up next, Lower Boshi 2. Carrot. Her backstory is the same as the other Strazuki video I made in the past. Just go to my channel, check that out. But for now, it's just that she was living with an old man named Pedro when he was attacked by a demon. When she saw that he had been killed, she ended up crying. The demon who saw her was actually one of the Boshi, and felt sorry because they didn't really need to do it. So they turned her into a demon, and now she travels with them. She doesn't have the Demon Slayer mark, but she is currently in the middle of learning beast breathing. Her claws are lined with Nichirin in case she needs to decapitate somebody's head, so that's fun. Her blood demon art is... okay, sorry. Her blood... Her blood demon art is blood demon art moon manipulation. She essentially uses the moonlight to strengthen herself. The stronger the moon, the more full the moon is, the stronger she gets. Her full moon form allows her to take on an Ahashira. Her full moon point allows her to go toe-to-toe with Ahashira, so that's fun. Also, I should add that due to how strong the Boshi are, due to their demon slaying, due to their breathing techniques and demon bodies, it has spurred the other Hashira to train 10 times harder than they usually would. They rarely ever take breaks, and every free second they have is spent training. They only ever take breaks when they realize that they're pushing their body into breaking down. So this is a fun time to be a demon slayer. Yeah. Her ears aren't for show either. She can hear in a couple of miles radius, and anything that happens in there she knows about, so that's fun. Up next, Lower Boshi 1. Frankie. Yeah. Okay. The bulbs on his shoulders that kind of look like tumors are not just for show. What he does is he stores blood in them to... I should probably tell you this. You see these markings on, well, his mouth things? Those mouth things? They are because he ripped his arms off and then made modifications to them with his newly regenerated arms, and then he ripped his regenerated arms off and attached the modified arms before they could regenerate. So that was fun. He needed some help from the other Boshi to get this done, but when you see him in battle, you know it's well worth it. His blood so yeah, he stores his blood in those bulbous things on his shoulders that look like tumors and then fires them out in high density blasts. His blood demon art magnetic monstrosity means he absorbs metal into his body to become this giant robot machine of death. He can't do the same. He can't pull this trick off with Nichiren swords as they poison him. So if a demon slayer could get a sword into him while he was absorbing metal, then he probably would die. Yeah. When he doesn't do his magnetic monstrosity technique, he uses his disintegration in cannon beam technique, where the guns that are fused onto the bulbs become one with his hands, becoming these metallic hands that he has in the One Piece universe that allow him to, well, just shoot bullets of high density power like he usually does, only this time he can put his hands together and create his ultimate technique, Blood Demon Art Mountaintop Destroyer. He's actually being modest with this technique because it can destroy a whole lot more than a mountaintop, though he's never actually done anything else with it because no Hashira has ever pushed him to. And he only ever just uses these for like long range techniques. He's a terrible sniper, but with the blast radius of his technique, he doesn't really need to do anything that good. Alright, up next, Upper Boshi 6. Brook. He usually, when he wore the mask during his escapades as a demon slayer in his battle with Muzan, it ended up merging with his body and flesh. So he can still eat. It's just kind of weird, actually, and it's actually pretty cool once you get used to it. The blue mark on his face is the Demon Slayer mark. It was on his skin, but because that became his skin, it just became a permanent part of his face. Yeah. I don't usually mention the blood demon arts here because they don't really, the demon breathing techniques, because they usually aren't really altered in any way. But he uses breath of ice demon ice. Bleh. Okay. He uses breath of the specter. In short, it allows him to walk past in short, it allows him to cut an opponent, and then once he sheaths his blade, only then will the opponent feel it. It only happens if he's able to run past them. So, as long as it only happens if, though he's only able to do this by jumping past his opponent with his blade unsheathed, and if his opponent blocks this technique, it doesn't hit. Any demon slayer he kills will be absorbed into his blade and then used to fight as well. Though it's actually not the worst experience in the world, because while they're trapped, he actually treats them to a song in his alternate dimension. What was it called? I remember now. The Rum Bar Lounge. They can essentially eat, drink, and be merry, because even though he's a demon now, he still maintains some honor. So, and he figures if they're gonna fight for him, he might as well treat them to song. And well, even though they don't need food, he still gives them food. And he's even assembled a band there who was sick and dying, so he cut them, and now they perform there. Once he's dead, though, they will be released. Okay. Oh, I should probably mention this blood demon art is called Blood Demon in the Soul Parade. His ultimate use of this is he merges them all into one giant entity, which can do physical damage, so that's fun. Oh, and the same goes for the souls when they're all split up. Oh, I should probably mention that if the souls have a strong enough will, they can break free of his control. So and force him to cut off his head. Though it doesn't really happen, multiple souls have gotten close. Because of this, if a strong soul ever meets somebody powerful enough, the two can work together to cut off his head. So that's fun. Alright, up next. Upper Boshi 5. Robin. Nico Robin. That's her name. Again, another demon slayer with the demon slayer mark, so that's fun. She doesn't use her sword, long having discarded it, but it's still but she's nonetheless still very dangerous. Her demon slayer marks also act as I want to say, anchor? I don't know. They act as an anchor for her blood demon art, Flower Palms. Her blood demon art, Sakura Death. Sakura Death. From the marks on her body, she can sprout any limb she wants. So that's fun. In close combat, she's incredibly formidable due to her regeneration and multiple limbs sprouting out. As you see on her arm, and to show how it can be used, well, you see the mark on her shoulder. If she were to use that to create another arm that arm too would have the demon slayer mark, and she could use the technique to sprout another, and it would be very dangerous to say the least. She can also place these marks anywhere she so chooses and sprout a limb or an entire clone from there. Ah, crap. I forgot the other ways the others look for their blue spider lily. Okay, we're rewinding this. Okay, let's start over. Chopper still has a ton of medical history and constantly masquerades as a doctor. He obviously keeps hidden, but he uses it to search for the blue spider lily. Carrot is often wandering, and using her ears, she looks for any mention of the blue spider lily, because flowers don't really make any noise. Frankie actually works with the mechanics and swordsmith, though again he makes sure to always stay out of sight and he always sees if they have ever heard of blue spider lily and stuff like that. And Brooke. Okay, we're here. Okay. And Brooke. He just, questions the souls, and using his room bar lounge technique, he lulls them into a sense of security, which, is a rightful sense of security, because he's not actually going to hurt the souls. And when he senses that they're most content, he asks them if they know anything about the blue spider lily. Okay, back to Robin. She is an archaeologist, and because she is one of the more human-looking of the Boshi, she uses this to research any information on the blue spider lily he mentioned throughout history. Okay, back to her technique. She can place the marks anywhere she wants and sprout any of her limbs, or if she wants a full-body clone, though that clone cannot move from that place. Though if she places a circle of 12 of these, she can spawn anywhere They're on and inside the circle. Cool. Yeah. And I know I said most powerful, though I had to explain that first. Her arguably most powerful. Okay, and she can also form giant limbs from that circle. So she usually has to make it big and sets these up beforehand. And so people usually don't figure it out that they have to get outside a circle or to draw her out. But her most powerful technique is definitely the Blood Demon Art full body clone, where she is absorbed into the sakura petals and then reformed. Only this time she's enormous. Enormous. If any of you have ever seen if any have ever seen One Piece, and you probably have, then, well, you know how big she can make one of her arms? Well, imagine a body attached to that arm. Yeah, that's how big she would get. She can also move outside of the circle, and her regeneration speed is relatively slow. But let me explain that. She would have to, it doesn't take longer, it's just that considering how long it takes for her to regenerate an arm, she would have to on how big an arm would be if somebody would manage to cut it off. It would just take longer relatively. Again, this would be a very complicated matter of beheading her because her neck would be huge, and even more so cutting off a limb. However, there is somebody like Mitsuru or Kanroji. I always mix up the last person's name. I'm just gonna say Miss Kanroji. Kanroji, with her ribbon and long blade, were to attack, she could cut off her head. Though Robin can still sense everything that happens inside the circle, so that's still kind of fun. Though this form does have one weakness. She can't turn back manually. She can't turn back whenever she wishes. She has to wait 6 hours to do so, which is why she often keeps a clock on hand to, well, make sure the sun doesn't rise and she doesn't get caught in it. Because of this, she's very meticulous about time and only uses this if one, she has enough time, and or two, she has a place where she can hide big enough and close enough for her to hide from the sun. So, form has its downsides. And there's an upper Boshi 5, Eve Jinbei, but we already kind of covered him in the 12 Shizuki video, so we're just gonna skip that. Okay, upper Boshi 3, Sanji. Again, Demon Slayer mark, part of his hair, part of his face, that type of thing. He often, because again, he's one of the more human-looking ones, he often uses his cooking talents to see if anyone knows about this rare ingredient called a blue spider lily. And his cooking talents are not just for show. He is an incredible cook, and since the Boshi keep in touch, whenever they all gather for just like a get together or just to see how each other are doing, he will cook humans in a very delectable way. It's weird that I'm describing humans like this, but yeah, any demon who tastes his cooking can't wait to get back for more. So he often uses this to keep people, and the same goes for people, though he doesn't tell them what the special ingredient is. Because of this, he often uses it to collect an army of loyal followers. His food isn't addicting, isn't like a drug or an addiction per se. It's just really, really good. There's nothing. It just sounds like I'm describing a drug now. Okay, what was I doing? Oh yeah, right. His blood demon art. one of his blood demon arts is blood demon art delectable blood. He often uses this blood to masquerade as whatever ingredients he needs, but he always prefers to use the original thing. But his more attack-based blood is blood demon art unbreakable leg. Even though his hands regenerate, he always prefers not to use them. So he often centers all his blood in his legs, causing them to reach an unattainable hardness. And he also uses his breathing technique, broiling breathing. And with his demon techniques, he spawns actual flames that sprout from his legs and cover his body. But he usually just concentrates it all on his legs. He often gets into fights with Upper Moon 1 about the smallest of things, but they both have their own special way of decapitating demons. Upper Moon 1 with his, well, we'll get to that later, but I mean, Upper Boshi 1 and Upper Boshi 3, that's Sanji, because he has, well, fused his swords onto the ankles of his legs to decapitate them with his axe kicks, so that's fun. Okay. Upper Boshi 2, Yamato. Again, I went over this in the last video, and I'm sorry if you guys aren't going to make a big deal out of this, but just in case there is somebody who will, as long as Yamato prefers to go by he, I will refer to him as such. If he changes it to she, then I will change it to she, but I'm just kind of a person like that. I'm not doing it to be self-righteous or anything, you know, whatever, let's just get this over with. I'm gonna catch hell either way. Yeah. Yamato. The markings on his body are the Demon Slayer. The Demon Slayer mark. It's the Demon Slayer mark, okay? His father was highly abusive and would often make him go on errands and work him to the bone and barely give him anything to eat, so he had to hunt for food his own way, including hunting wolves. One day, his father became a demon, and a Hashira arrived to slay him. Because of this, Yamato was indebted to them. They promised that they would collect the debt later, and well, they did, as you can see, because you can't have, yeah, you get what I mean. They honestly just wanted 12 of them to replace all of the 12 Kizuki. Yeah, to make up the 12 Boshi. His blood demon art is blood demon art, non-physical wolf. Looking into the eyes of his club creates a special demon. Well, it's not really a demon per se, but more of it's this wolf that's forever destined to hunt you unless you can kill it. However, it only works as one eye per person, so until that person is dead, the eye on his club will remain closed. His club is also lined with nitrine, so that's fun. By far, his ultimate technique is if you manage to cross out all the eyes, then all of the or destroy his club, one or the other, then all of the wolves that he would have been able to make or did make then flow into his body, and his body becomes this like horrible wolf amalgamation thing that actually looks pretty cool. And then also his claw, and also the claws, well, his claws now also give frostbite. Well, they don't give frostbite, they just lower the temperature of anything they cut, or they end up piercing or cutting, so that's fun. And the horns don't really make it easier. ear on them either, so it's just all in all very terrifying. Up next, oh yeah. He also uses his non-real wolf to. Oh yeah, I should probably tell you that. Although the wolves can be slain by the person they're destined to hunt, they can't be slain by anyone else. So that's fun. Yeah. He also the way he looks for the blue spider lily is by materializing all of his wolves. He has 9 of them, by the way. And though they can't actually attack anyone without somebody that they're destined to hunt, they can search far and they can still search far and wide. Though they will return back to the club if sunlight shines on any of them. Alright, Upper Boshi 1. Roronoро Zoro. It's him, yeah. This is actually pretty interesting because the eyes that are on the scar and that purple thing, that was his Demon Slayer mark. It would trail up his chest and over his eye, and when he was turned into a demon, I guess that just amplified. He was arguably the strongest swordsman of the former Hashira, and now he's a demon, so that's fun. He and his blades are one, so if you can destroy all of his swords or get him to release it, it's complicated. Point is, since he and his swords are one, if you somehow separate him from all 3 of his swords, then he will die The reason for this is because he made a blood oath. Is because out of despair he made for becoming a demon, he made a blood oath with his swords, and a demon's word that he would never ever abandon the blade, because even though he was a demon, he had still intentionally given up the way of the demon slayer. So that was fun. Definitely didn't traumatize him or anything. Yeah. Because he hasn't been he always uses one blade. Because of his deal, he only ever uses one blade to fight, right? In case he accidentally drops any of his other blades, which won't happen, but yeah, it's fun. No one has ever really noticed that he can't survive without all of his blades being on him because, they're usually dead. Sorry, that was dark. Okay, let's get on to his blood demon technique. His blood demon technique is real demon Asura. Whenever he holds one sword, he has one head and one pair of arms. Holding 2 swords will grant him twice that amount, and 3 swords triple the amount, and yeah. The swords that come because of this, 6 of the swords he will, in his Asura form, only 3 of the swords he has on his hand will actually be the ones he's made the deal with. You'll be able to notice this because while the real swords will be coated in this purple veins, the others will be coated in a blood red veins. It's usually just made to attract attention to them, but it's very noticeable. Yeah, he uses his evolved demon slaying art, demonic wind raising, demonic. Okay, sorry. Demonic hurricane breathing, because it evolved from his wind breathing. His ultimate form of this would be combining all 9 of his blades into one deadly. I don't know how to describe it. The point is, he can his heads and his arms so that they form one great black demonic hurricane. He calls it the 9,000 worlds technique. It's very destructive. The only one who's ever seen it is before we get is the Demon King. Before we get on to that, Zoro doesn't really have a way to search for the blue spiral lily and everyone's kind of okay with that because whenever he tries, he ends up getting lost. It's honestly a miracle he hasn't gotten caught in the sun yet. Because of this, one of the other Boshi is always instructed, because of this, at least three of the Boshi are required to know where he is at all times. Sure, this might be coddling or babysitting him, but they all do it because they still care about him, so yeah, that's fun. Alright. Behold, the Demon King. Monkey D. Luffy! Yeah. You might think, why doesn't he have a Demon Slayer mark? Well, it actually kind of merged. It actually kind of does. He has it in his hair. It's really weird. I don't want to get into it. But point is, his sun breathing evolved with him. But his demon slay, but his blood, the blood demon art he usually uses is called blood demon art body manipulation. It's different from Chopper's surgical manipulation because through his blood demon art, his body becomes rubber. Basic, I know, but we'll get to the more powerful techniques later. Unlike Chopper's surgical manipulation, this affects Luffy's entire body, not just a part of it. Because of this, he can increase his already formidable speed, make his fists bigger, and there's even this one form where he unleashes the Demon Slayer mark from his hair onto his entire body, and he bulks up, his fists become bigger, and yeah. He refers to this form as the Bounce Man. He has other forms too. That form is just to enhance his current form. He has another that makes use of his blade. He calls it the Snake Man, and which allows his body to, well, if you've watched One Piece, then you know what I'm talking about. This Snake Man refers solely to his blade, because anything that gets hit by it, well, it's like getting pierced by a blade. And speaking of which, the blade is infused with his body, so that's fun. So yeah, any demon that gets chopped or gets his head destroyed by him, well, he gets usurped, or he gets destroyed. His most powerful technique is Blood Demon Art Sun Manipulation, where he uses his former sun breathing power to create a sun. And the best part of this is that befitting of a Demon King, only he can control who stands in the sun. Only he can control who stands in the sun. The 12 Boshi are already okay with standing in the sun, because, they're his nakama. This is the technique he used to usurp the former Demon King Muzan, who did not believe that he could be defeated by someone he had turned into his own pawn. So that kind of backfired on you. Yeah. I believe that others have created a better way of making this Demon King Luffy the all-powerful one, but this is just my own way of making him all-powerful, because he seeks to use the Blue Spiral Lily and his sun to create a new sun, a new permanent one. Either that or or infect the current sun. It's very complicated, and I don't really know the specifics, but he wishes to use his blood demon art and the blue spider lily to coat the sun in a frame. That way, for once, only he will be able to control all who lives and who dies in the sun. It'll be like the world is completely under his control. So yeah, again, those are the 12 Boshi. I really hope I did a good job of making these guys terrifying and powerful in their own right. Please tell me what you think of them, and yeah, go. Also, yeah, D Not So Good Artist created these guys, if that was not obvious already. So I'll post the link to the original video in the description. So yeah, please go watch them, and also go to my channel and watch the 12 Strazuki video if you want. Alright, that's a wrap.